Are you tired of people always telling you what you want to hear and not what you need to hear? Me too. Are you ready to actually do something about it? Hi, I'm Loren Lahav, and for the past 30 plus years, I've been blessed to speak and to impact thousands of people around the world. I've shared the stage with the world's top thought leaders, including Barbara Walters, Tony Robbins, Barbara Corcoran, and Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm also a personal development, lifestyle, and business coach, event producer, and entrepreneur with businesses in over 25 countries. I'm a wife and a proud mama to 3 and a bonus mom to 1. Trust me when I tell you, it took me many years of buying into my old story of I'm not enough and lots of grit to finally let go of the BS. So I understand firsthand what it means and what it took. They don't call it the School of Hard Knocks for nothing. This podcast is my way of breaking down the BS filters of what we say, what we do, and how we interact with others. I will be sharing what worked for me, yet more importantly, what didn't work for me. This is a no fluff podcast where we will address real life issues that seem to surface when you least expect it, relationship conflict and breakdowns, and real solutions. I will share from my life experiences and those of other everyday heroes, as well as the world's top experts, are all here to help you grow through the process of letting go and finally expressing your true voice, who you are and what you stand for. In a world of political correctness and living our lives on social media, it's hard to know what is real. And are you taking in so much information but not applying what you've learned? In my life, I always look to the people who understand what I'm going through and are willing to get honest and forthcoming with me to help me grow through these challenges. Trust me, I've had them all, and I'm going to take the time to be as real as possible and get to solutions. I've had financial issues, parenting issues, marriage issues, emotional issues. You know, the list goes on. I've learned from my challenges, I've grown from them, and continue to learn from them. I see them now as opportunities. With this podcast, we're going to tune up our lives. I'll be your cup of espresso to get you through whatever you're going through in your life that's holding you back, to give you that confidence and trust of knowing someone is there to help and guide you, yet you have to do the work. So strap in, hang on tight, and let's get real. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back. We are going to have a good time today. We've got Vid. You've got Vid and Lucy, and I've got Lauren and Martha. Come here, Martha. Come on back. Come on back. So Martha and Lucy were just, come on. So Martha and Lucy were just having a conversation, right? We love our babies.
We do.
So, yeah, I was just sharing with Vid that it might get a little emotional in here, and you might hear Martha cry a little bit just because we were out of town, and last night there was a little bit of dominance going on between Daphne and Martha, which we see, don't we? Lots of time. I know that you in the corporate world have seen that, right? Everybody positioning for some power. And so, hey, it doesn't just happen in the, in the people world. It happens in the dog world too, especially between these two girls. So anyway, I thought we'd start off with our beautiful dogs. And so those of you that can't see, Lucy's on Vid's lap. I'm with this extraordinary woman that you're going to hear today about all she's doing about wealth, right? And what true wealth is really about. And Vid is Vid Tekriwal. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes, you did.
So yay, we got it right. Vid and I met about a year. It's going to be about a year and a couple months.
That's right.
I can't believe it. It feels like forever. And your essence is just, you are truly badass and beautiful, right? Like the more that I learned about you and all that you've accomplished at such a young age. And then when you spoke at True Voice, I'm like, dang, this girl is a badass. And I can't wait to hang around her a little bit more and get the world to know her. So I know that you have a new awesome adventure called True Wealth Bridge. And I want to talk about that, but I want to talk a little bit about what we shared before coming on the podcast. And, we've all had things that we thought was going to be the thing, right? And then we like do the thing and we get the LLC and we find the partners and we, create the business plan. And then we're like, this ain't the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we were sharing that this ain't the thing has led you to the thing that is the thing. So
Yes.
can you share a little bit about your journey of discovering what wasn't the thing? Because I think it's really important for people to understand that that's okay. That's part of the process that leads you to where you really do want to go.
Absolutely. And, I would say it's even more than okay. It's necessary. It's a necessary part of the journey. It's actually a very important part of the journey. And so I'll start with business school. So I went to business school. I was in corporate America, as you mentioned, for 9 years. I was a product manager at Google, head of product at Walgreens, product leader at Devoted Health, very much interested and excited about the health tech space. And then last year, I hit a moment where I was like, this is not me. This is not who I want to be. This is not where I'm meant to be. And I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do something different. And I took this giant leap of faith. And it was, oh my gosh, it was a leap to just leave my job. I did not get another job. And I was like, I want to be a business owner. I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't know how, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what it is, like this is what's calling me and what's meant to be. And so to your point about you got to just try things, Yeah. So I just started.
So let me ask you a question. So did you feel that what was pulling you that way was because you thought, well, because I've been in the health world, I need to do something related to health? Is that what happened? Or what made you feel that it was a calling? Was it the people that you were hanging around, they thought, oh, this would be fun to work together? I can see the smile on your face. What happened? Was it their vision? What happened?
Yeah, I actually joined Tony Robbins' Platinum Partners program. So I started surrounding myself with people who were in that space, who were successful entrepreneurs. And they say you become the people that you spend time with. And so after spending a few months with them, I was actually about to start Business Mastery virtually. And I had this moment when I was like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to start my own business since I was 19. I was an exchange student at MIT. I was surrounded by all these like innovating entrepreneurial people. And I was like, oh, I want to do this. And at the time I was like, well, I'm only 19 at the time. And I was like, well, I don't have the ideas. I don't have a US visa. I don't have the funding. I don't know how I would even go about this. I just didn't have the resources and the people. So I was like, okay. And then I sort of started my corporate career in the way that I did.
I'm going to stop you for just a second, because I think it's really interesting what you just share. We go immediately to what we don't have, right?
Yes.
And, in my book, Stay True, I talk about that it always comes back to our identity of how we see ourselves. And you had a great, strong identity for, being at MIT. We just heard your amazing background, but it was the questions you were asking, right? Mm-hmm. You said, I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't this and that. And it directed your next direction, but what you needed, as you said, right? But anyway, go ahead. I just want everybody to think about for themselves, when was a time when you asked some different questions, and so it put you in a whole different direction because of those questions that you asked.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it really is about the questions that you ask. And so the question that I asked last January was, what's your excuse now, Vid? Now the I'm a US citizen and I have the funding and I have the knowledge and I have the contacts. I'm like, why aren't you a business owner now? And that was really the moment that things started to shift. And then a few months later, I left my corporate job and then started my journey of entrepreneurship.
Wow. So what was the shift? What was it? Was it that, oh, you don't have any excuses now?
I think it was one, asking a better question, like you said, of it's almost like, what's holding you back? And then I realized nothing's holding me back. It's actually just me and just familiarity, I think, of like, this is what I've always done. And I was like, well, I don't have to keep doing what I've always done. I'm going to try something new. And then it was actually going back to the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
I just had the confidence where I'm like, I have a bunch of friends who are in this world and know it. And I just know that I will figure it out, and they'll help me. My friends will support me and I will figure it out. And I don't know how, but it will work out.
So you did get started on another business. You had lots of momentum. You had the website up, you had your partner, you had the LLC, you had like what you were going to do. We were talking a lot about that. And it was interesting because I don't mean to be rude, but I knew that wasn't where you were going. When we first started talking, I'm like, oh, this is so not it, right? But like you said, you had to go through it. At what point, after you'd already invested the money, after you'd already, had this business plan, you had your partner, at what point did you say, this ain't it?
Yeah, I did that twice. So as soon as so I started my business back in May with a business partner, and very to your point, like dove in, did the branding, did the website, did the offering, created business cards, like did all the things. And then there was a moment when I was like, uh-oh, like this is not working out. The chemistry isn't quite right with my business partner. And we were on the verge of taking off. And it's almost, Lauren, it was almost like when, to use a dating analogy, when you're like dating and you're like, we're just about to get married and have kids, like this is a really good moment to decide if we want to go forward or not. Yep. And so just before we were kind of about to take off, where there's a lot of interest, we're like, hey, this isn't really working. And so we just like closed that down. It was painful, but at least it was easier than it could have been. And then it's funny what we were saying about sometimes you have to go through these things a few times. So I learned a lot in that first experience. And then in my second experience, I was introduced to a potential business partner by one of my friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This resonates so much. Dove in, did the whole thing again, the branding, the website, the offering, like all the things. And then at some point, so in the second case, my business partner actually got quite sick. And so I think that was kind of the tipping point, but really I think you're right that it wasn't totally resonant anyway. And so then again, kind of going through that cycle of like creating everything, all the excitement and everything, and then being like, this isn't quite it. And then turning it down and shutting down the LLC and shutting down the bank account and closing the website and all those things. And sometimes I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was actually like a real journey, but I'm so grateful. Like the things that I learned on that journey allow me to do what I'm doing now and much more intelligently than I did at the first.
So what are the top 3 things that you learned?
So the top 3 things I learned, number 1 was keep it lean. Like in the beginning, like paying for this, paying for that, paying for that. Now, literally this time, I set up a Gmail address. I did not pay for anything in that regard. I kept it like super easy and just like started an Instagram page, very light, very easy until I proved the concept. And then now I'm getting more traction, then I'm investing. And before I thought you had to invest first to get the traction. And now I'm learning, no, like you get the traction first, you get interest, you find what resonates, and then you invest in that.
I love that. That is such a great distinction because when I think about launching the Own Your Worth experience, the Baddest and Beautiful Own Your Worth experience, the first year I was so lean, right? Mm-hmm. It was me and it was Danica and it was Chili that helped. And we rocked it. We rocked it. And then I had a very small team, but like you said, you start getting a little fat when you start going, oh, well, I need to have this and I need to have that. And the truth is you really don't, right? And you keep the hustle in you when you keep it lean. Mm-hmm. I don't know. For me personally, that's what I've found is that I keep the hustle in me when I'm super, super lean with all that I'm doing. Anyway, let's go. Let's talk about what you're doing now then. That was great advice for people. Mm-hmm. Because I think that you said that, you spend all this money building the brand and building to this and building to that before you've proven the concept. So, and give people what they want, not what you think that they want.
Yes, right? Exactly. That's such a good one because it's so easy to be like, well, I know this and I know that people need that and I'm going to give them that. And no, it's like, what do people actually want? What are they pulling for? What are they asking for? Give them that.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
that. So let's talk a little bit about how you created the True Wealth Bridge. I love the word true. So tell us about the True Wealth Bridge.
Yes, I'm so excited. So, one of the biggest lessons that I got from my first two rounds was to look at what is it that I do well, that is exceptional, that I can offer, some value that I can offer for people. And it was actually with you in Fiji where I had this realization during Wealth Mastery, where I was listening to people's shares and I was like, oh, like I know how to turn income, like take the income that you generate and turn it into wealth. And I was like, there's people here who have income, even have significant income, and not everybody knows how to convert that into real wealth, generational wealth, sustainable wealth that you can rely on, that your family can rely on for years to come. And I was like, I know how to do that. I know because I grew up with it. I was in the family where that was just the thing that we did. So I kind of learned it growing up. And then I did it in my education, or I learned more about it in my education. I have an MPhil in finance. I have an MBA from Harvard. Like I know money, I know finance inside out. So one of my biggest lessons was to focus on what am I good at better than most other people. And so this was the thing that I was like, I can do this and I can help people turn their income into generational wealth. And I hope that the ripple effect of that helps generations for years to come.
I love that. I love that. That makes me smile, right? That makes me smile. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so needed right now by people. And there's a lot of misconceptions about wealth, as we know, right? Doing that, even doing that, what is money exercise, I think is a big thing for people about the difference between being rich or the difference between being wealthy. So what's one of the big misconceptions that you hear or see about wealth?
Yeah, one of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that wealth is complicated. Money is difficult, is complex. People don't understand it. And it's actually really simple. It's a lot simpler than people think. All you need is some good systems in place, and then it becomes easy. Like anything else, when you have a system in place, it requires much less effort to convert that income into wealth. And then it's one of those things where in the beginning you pour into it, but once it's like a flywheel, once you get it going, it will pour it back into you and it will grow exponentially.
And I think, like you said, like a lot of people, they make it a lot more difficult than it is. I know you hear me use this story all the time about, I started when I was pregnant with Joss, who's now 20, he's going to be 29. I started putting $50 away, right? And then when I started making more money, it was $100 a month. Then it was $200. Then it was $300 a month. And then making sure to invest those things. So what are some of the systems you would say to people that they can do to create that financial freedom for themselves?
Yeah, I have a very simple 3-step system. Earn, save, invest. That's it. To your point, if you start with earning, you don't need to earn that much. People think you got to earn tons of money to be wealthy. It's not true. My parents were young and immigrants when I was little. We didn't have a lot, but we saved. It's more of a mindset, a habit of how you actually manage your money. So you don't have to earn very much. I call it the river of riches, of your flow of money in and out. So as you earn your money, if you can manage it well and spend wisely, right? Like spend to meet your needs today and then save money. I think of that as money that you're putting aside to meet your needs and your family's needs in the future. And then invest. So I call this my waterfall of wealth. And if you think about all of the savings that you're putting aside each month, that savings flows into a waterfall of I call it your stability account, your peace of mind fund, and then your flywheel of growth. And if you're wisely investing into each of those buckets, you get to have peace of mind and you get to have exponential growth thanks to, as you know, the power of compounding.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to add to it because I missed you in Palm Springs. So I don't know if I guess you didn't hear the story. When Quinn, who's my second, was born, he's 24 now. And when he was born, I bought these little piggy banks, and they're 4 parts. They're save, spend, invest, and donate. And I sent them to everybody as I said, hey, fill these up, and whatever money's in there in each of those categories, I'm going to do that for Joss. That's your birthday present for Quinn. And because I think one of the biggest things I learned as well from so many people is just the importance of tithing. Can you talk a little bit? Because I know it's very important for you to give back. I know that that's one of your big drivers. Can you talk a little bit about giving back and philanthropy and how it actually even makes you even more wealthier in many ways?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting when you look around. A lot of different cultures have some version of tithing where you contribute 10% of whatever you make to a cause of your choice. Perhaps it's a religious choice or the environment or helping young girls or whatever it might be. And the benefit of that energetically is that it creates a flow. So as you give, so you receive. And what many people have found is whatever you give, you get back tenfold. You think you're losing, but you're not. There's a karmic connection where as you show the universe that I have abundance and I am here to give, then the universe will give back to you and show you even more abundance.
I love it. I'm writing something down. I love it. I think I just thought something really cool for us to talk about. And so it's funny because this past month, there have been, I don't know if it's happening where you are, but there's so many events that are taking place, right? Like galas and this and that, that are taking place. I don't know if it's because it's the end of the year and you can write it off, or I don't know why so many people do it at the end of the year. But, our dear friend Maureen, they did a virtual event for Kinsella Angels, and it was so great. I was like, oh my gosh, I could get that house in Montana for the kids to go on a trip. And then I go and I see Amy, who you know as well, for Fight for Her. And they were doing an event, and I sponsored a couple people, kids, to get food for a year or whatever that it was. And then there was this picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, Joss needs that picture. And so then I end, and it was so funny because right after I said yes to these big contribution things, I could have gone, oh my God, I can't believe I just spent that much money. But it was crazy. Literally the next day, a huge opportunity came my way. Right. And not that I was ever expecting it, but I wasn't expecting to show up and donate the money that I was, yet it felt so good. And I was so in the moment that I do believe it was kind of that karmic connection that happened next for things. Right.
Exactly.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about why do you think so many people, no matter how much income that they have, because there are a lot of people that are broke. And I mean that they're broke just in their thinking as well. So why do you think so many people, no matter how much money they make, I'm not saying all people, but why some people struggle with money and what it means?
Yeah, I was reading recently, 78% of families in the US are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's families who are earning $50,000 a year and families who are earning $500,000 a year.
Yep.
So it's across the board. And it's crazy, right? Like you think about it and you're like, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you get hit with any unexpected cost, which could happen to any of us, right? Medical bills, legal bills, like whatever it might be, then you're in trouble, right? Like your family's in trouble. I think that people struggle with it because it's a mindset, right? Like it's a way, as you said, like a way of thinking and a way of being with energy. There's an energy of money. And I feel very fortunate that I grew up in a family where that was well understood. And I learned from my parents how to save, how to invest. But not everyone does. And you think about, like, if you're not lucky enough to have had that growing up, where do you learn that? Right? Like, unless you happen to have studied finance and really applied it in your life. And even then, like, you may not have the mindset, the fundamental beliefs and thought processes to be able to actually put those patterns into real life for yourself. And so I think that some people get stuck on that treadmill, right? Like they're earning more and more and more, but then they're like, but I still don't have any money at the end of the month.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look what happened during that mandatory pause, of COVID. A lot of people, they hadn't even saved anything. That's why they couldn't do it, and they didn't have, or they got scared by the market right? We say the biggest challenge for people is they make emotional decisions about money instead of understanding the patterns that happen in the market as well. Well, I wasn't so, I would say a lot of people, it's an identity thing for them. They just don't think that, well, I'm not the finance person. I'm not the money person, right? Like my dad, he had his own practice, and he was a huge philanthropist, and he was like, just didn't think that he was good in those things. And so, and he was always so busy, just didn't make that a priority just because he didn't know. But he did do some things really smart, right? So he collected coins. And a lot of people thought that it was silly that he collected coins back then. And now God knows how much those coins would be worth, But I think that for all of us, we need to understand that those tools are available to us to learn,
Exactly.
Whether it's through books, a podcast, whatever that YouTube. There's so many great things that you can learn out there. I know that you have how can they learn more about how to work with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote a free guide to creating financial freedom. It's called From Paycheck to Prosperity. So if people would like to download it, it's free to download. They can go to truewealthbridge.com.
I love it. So let me ask you one more question. What's one thing that you do every day to stay true to yourself, no matter what?
Ooh. Actually, Loren, I love your I ams. So I tell myself every day, I am beautiful, I am kind, I am loving, I'm a good person.
Well, hang on. Let's pick your I am card since we're on the call, since I've got just happen to have them here in my drawer.
I love it.
Okay, Vid, pick a card and then we'll read it to everybody. Pick one. Tell me which one you want. Lucy wants one.
Lucy wants one too. I pick the green one in
the very end, right? The green one right here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is definitely you. So it is, I am sincere. I am committed to being authentic and genuine. The words I speak to others come from the best part of my inner being. Though they may not like what they hear, I guarantee they'll be back for seconds. I will do what I say I'm going to do. I will follow through. I will not do what makes me not feel uncomfortable. I am real. Oh my gosh, that's a mind drop. That's a mic drop. That's so you. I love it. I love it. I love it. And how can people find out more about you and all that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. truewealthbridge.com is the best place to go. And then I'm also on LinkedIn and folks can find me there.
Amazing. Well, that was really fun. I love it. I love the tips that you gave, and I'm excited for people to get to know you and to see True Wealth Bridge grow, grow, grow.
Thanks, Loren.
Sid. How awesome was today? Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends to join as well. I'm here for you with fabulous content, great guests, and lots of giveaways. To learn more of how I have taken what I've learned, applied it to my life, helped others find their true voice, text TRUE to 26786, which will give you my top tune-ups and a complimentary 15-minute discovery call with one of our coaches. And remember, keep in touch with me on Instagram at I am Loren Lahav, Facebook Loren Lahav Official, Clubhouse Loren Lahav. Make sure you text TRUE, TRUE, to 26786. Text TRUE, TRUE, to 26786. And remember to always stay true to the amazing person you are.